Jill here with Sirius Taurus Moon, and this is Mars Hour. Ascendant with Procyon. And we have another Eureka. So Ascendant with Procyon, Midheaven, 15 degrees Aries. And here is the thing about Saturn, Neptune in Aries. When a money laundering business does business, it targets certain people, not by profile, by the way. And we're going to particularly see that with Neptune in Aries. Because Aries is identity and Neptune is a fog around identity. And so, because of the blend of identities, it becomes evident when people are doing wrong things in secrecy. Think about it. How come mafias killed one another? Why did people hate the mafias? Because they were trying to assassinate one of their own, and they began to kill other people. So this is how mafias got themselves in jail. They weren't having business amongst them and themselves. They were blending into to supposedly look legit. Neptune in Aries is exactly that blend. And the clear division. Okay, then later, thank you. Okay, I'm talking about the courtesan. The clear division, let's say, this woman is dignified, this woman is whore. The clear division, why every time Venus retrogrades in Leo, sign of visibility, we have a Me Too event, because that division is suddenly blurred. Suddenly, what happened in the Me Too? Women began to say, wait a second, this happened. This is the person that did that. They could maintain, because they would kidnap people, torture them, and change their visibility, they could basically, those who complied with, those who didn't rebel, or those that were tortured supposedly successfully, would have a visibility of normality, but they were still raped and tortured. Those who wouldn't comply, they would be out to be homeless, to be looking crazy, to be having bad visibility, to be having no reach, and so on and so forth. Now, those were supposed to be symbols to society. This woman has dignity. This woman, yeah, probably they're homeless, probably they're like that because they have, I don't know, problems, or that division is being blurred. For example, I just described my previous episode. I stopped at, we were having a meditation, aftermath of the Me Too. I see, okay, there are discussions about how important it is for the sexuality to be only with will and consent. And that is marketed as practices to enhance the sexuality that is authentic, that is not an exchange for anything. And then basically we have a meditation, and I meditate with essential oil lavender, and I say, okay, I should take that other course where we learn more oils, and to make I don't know, body butters and natural salves and so on and so forth. And in the meantime, I'll give some astrology, basic small astrology readings. And later, I have important astrologers in my country saying to me, wait a second, you know this thing that the essential oils and stuff like that, it blends with astrology. It's used for talismans. And I said, no, it's very complicated. I don't know if I'll ever do that. Maybe I'll do that one day. Now, I did not know anything about the use of astrology in secret societies, the use of talismans in secret societies, the use of body butters and salt that I guess that was a cover-up business for trafficking business. But here's the thing, they took so many sectors that there is no business that's not trafficking. Palestinian women complained that they came to work as cleaning women and they were trafficked. And so the division that crime is so reliant upon between something that looks legit and something that is crime against humanity begins to blend. Now we understand, wait a second, that pizza place basically commits crime against humanity, kidnaps, torture, and traffics people, and then it puts them in slavery conditions. And when they complain that they can, that their feet are hurting and so on and so forth, they don't even give them access to justice, to their human rights. Or they have to take drugs that subdue basically their life energy, that is chemical castration. And this is how Saturn Neptune creates a sort of deadline, because when it happens to everybody, okay, when they try to fool all the people all the time, people awaken. And people en masse awaken to all of their scams. Okay, if I watch a video of Seizure Girl, and then in the algorithm, I see a video of a woman that claims that she's financially controlling and sexually controlling men, I say, that probably is a woman that was trafficked to say that. Now, what's my connection to Caesar Girl? People came to me and complained that energy weapons are used against them to traffic them. So now I see what would people that exited trafficking, that were addicted to trauma bond and misplaced arousal, would see. And I contact Seizure Girl and I say, wait a second, this is what the people watching that video see. Now this shit is going to happen by the masses, because there isn't anybody that doesn't know anybody. Everybody has a friend that they try to kidnap. Everybody has a colleague that they try to traffic. Do you know how many, when in that Jada course, how many women came with a history of molestation, trafficking, and then they try to infiltrate us with their advertisements for sex work. And we're like, no, that's not what it's about. It's actually antithetical to that. Now, in the meantime, oh, people that practiced not even self-pleasuring without being ready begin to notice, wait a second, there are things that try to hack nervous systems. Oh, good morning, that's the reality of people that went through ritual satanic abuse. Why? Because they want the life energy and they siphon it through right now. Here, people, I'm an academic person, but not the academic person to the level and the degree of people who would be in the secret societies. I just studied a first degree. The second degree said no to Epstein ring and second degree and dealt with being targeted for a decade. Ben Gurion University, Department of Politics and Governance. And no, the linguistics department is not necessarily better. Yes, they do dark occult human trafficking there. And they target people in all academia that speak against that. They try to make it so that nobody will be able to have a job without a certification. And then, even if they have certification and they don't agree to rape people, to traffic people, to organ trade, then they cannot have a job. And this is where the what was hidden, what people thought, oh, people thought that, I don't know, let's say ritual abuse or trafficking, somebody's being kidnapped, and no, they kidnap, they torture, and then a person dissociates, and the child keeps going to school like nothing happens. Teva Pharmaceuticals. Some people said, "Oh, but the material we used for the IVF was with Teva Pharmaceuticals." Amazing. Now they're going to say your child is neurodivergent, traffic the child, rape the child. Child wakes up in the middle of the night screaming, and they say, "Oh, it's high functioning autistic child." Who's gonna know? Classified technologies. Will you call to declassify classified technology? No, I'm afraid to speak. We have a child. That is the division that they relied on. That they are going to target some children and then supposedly help create life in, okay? The two gloved hands that one does the crime and one offers the solution that is the image of solution. Those are exposed because they rely on something being divided, and that something begins to blend. Saturn Neptune is when people understand the scam. Even behind, if some charity was scammy, now they begin to see that. And then they also begin to deal with all the problems when they were being portrayed as the scam where they weren't. This is why I said it's housing first o'clock. Okay, I addressed it in the past video. People are going to, let's say, they're going to tend to the meditation to pick one's power and so on and so forth. Then they're going to meditate, and then they're going to realize, wait a second, meditation reduces violence because we need to have time in a state of peace and regulated nervous system. What in my environment supports that? What negates that? Okay, if I want to extend, if I want to prevent violence, I want to basically be aligned with my sense of self continuously, whether it's when I'm sexual or not sexual, sleeping or awake, at work or with my children or with my partner or at war or patient even. Big shout out for Seizure Gold for sparking the attention that how people live. People complain about their neighbors. You know, when I came back after COVID, I was sleeping at my mom's, and I was like, I'm healed. I made a meditation, I stay present, and so on. Like it wasn't like I was walking with the vibes of a sage. It was simply that okay, I did a lot of healing, and I find that I'm okay right now. I just need to attune. Let's say if it's work, is something that I need to rest so that I can. And then my mom is like, Shirley, when you scream at night, should I wake you up? Because I remember your grandma had that, and she told me to wake her up if she's screaming at night because she has nightmares. I'm like, I don't remember anything. Now, I was screaming at night, okay? I live in a building. How many people will scream at night living in buildings after the war? Are they going to complain about all the neighbors? So, this is the time where those divisions are beginning to dissolve, and it allows us to see the bigger picture. Okay, sense of self as divination. Did I have another episode after that? Because, yes, I think that was the Epstein bar. Sense of self as divination. Quick way to see that. Nope. All set. So, anything that really, really relied on people being ignorant, not sovereign, or sick is having a tower moment. Think about a situation. Somebody is said to watch or to spy on somebody else. That somebody they're sent to watch or spy on, let's say they don't even know that. That somebody will begin to display the behaviors that annoy the watcher the most, not unbeknownst to them. Why is basically the nature of nature. What is neurodivergent if not a response of the body to slavery-based society? They don't understand clues. They're sensitive to literally everything. They can burst suddenly. They don't just take medications given to them. And the more you try to oppress them, the more violent they become. You have to approach them with love, and you have to authentically care for and respect their sovereignty. Unconditionally. They're not necessarily going to be able to work. And if something violates their sovereignty, we're going to have a complete breakdown, a megalithic one. Usually there are some neurotoxins involved. And so if a food has toxins in it, they're the first ones to respond weirdly. Think about giving inflammation-inducing food to patients in mental health facilities. Mental health problems, or any health facilities, are created by inflammation, which is basically violation of sense of self, in one way or another. Basically something that is unloving towards them. Not unloving in the way that somebody else would understand. People called it satanic panic, so ritual abuse made itself known so that literally nobody can ignore that reality. Then they call it spiritual warfare. And then when somebody dares to speak up and dares to name something that is basically a crime against humanity, then they try to show him more crimes as if they're to blame. And it's like, no, do you know what this is? This is the That's not something that is done by people who are not criminals against humanity. And that division is going down as well. The attempt to try to hack the nervous system of people and speak through them, words or things that they never agreed to say, and to use torture and confusion to try to do that, so that there would be attempts to control the prophecies, to control the influencers, to control the entertainment industry are being exposed and addressed. People begin to talk about it. How many times did I say, okay, yeah, they tried to make me do a certain sign. When I was channeling, I was like, when I was just channeling as an experiment, I don't know, if I saw the V shape, then I said, and I didn't know what it was. So I was like channeling that. Now, how many people had that? They tried one of the caption Lucrecia Tassios. They tried to make her do that, then she stopped doing that. Thanks to Trudy Verstegen, I realized what is this sign. And I'm like, okay, I addressed that. Those are that symbolism. Now, here's the thing: if somebody is not Italian and they make these hand gestures, there's some sort of traffic by mafia. Okay, Italian people is to do with their culture. So the fact that, let's say, Italian mafia does that doesn't necessarily mean it's the mafia, but simply they're Italian. But if somebody is not Italian doing that, it's probably either they don't know that and they caught it from somewhere, or there is a form of mind control because they do try to hack into nervous systems and plant commands there. Okay, this is the misuse of the second decan of Capricorn by Austin Coppock. Look how tender I am. The misuse of the second decan of Capricorn talisman. Like I said, I will never falsely accuse someone. I always keep the bandwidth for C factors, for correction. A lot of people try to create corruption where there isn't. Now, if I don't know, I don't know. If I notice some activity going on and I don't know where it's coming from, I order a talisman, there's really weird activity, I address that. Where is it coming from? I don't know. I know those things are to do with MK Ultra and MK Ultra. Is it participation? I don't know. They tried to make me do the peace sign when I didn't know what it is. The minute I know, the minute I learned what it is, I'm like, wait a second. I'm not with that dumbfuckery. So I give chance to people to say, hey, your business was targeted by that dumbfuckery. Trying to create confusion, trying to get people to expose themselves, trying to constantly corrupt the frequency of people. It only exposes ritual abuse. People are sick of the day that do that, the day that this, they're sick of that day. The Opus Dei. Aries is when we're sick of something, like, okay, enough with that. Enough with trying to violate people's sovereignty. Enough with trying to speak through other people. Enough with trying to enslave people. Nobody is a slave to anybody. Enough with trying to claim that somebody can agree to violation of their sovereignty or agree to give their power away. No one can ever agree to that. No one has agreed to that. An infant doesn't agree to being raped. A sovereign person never agrees to give up their sovereignty, and a person never agrees to be not sovereign. And anything that based on the violation of that sense of self is an invalid NDA. It's invalid. Whether it's a god, a religion, a culture, a country, a house, everything. Now, everybody needs to be housed. Everybody needs to have food. Everybody needs their basic needs met adaptively. Nobody has the right to take that away under no circumstances. If somebody votes for a party that tries to take women's rights away, what did that person do? Invest in crime against humanity. People, did you know that there is such thing that Dodge is activating and enabling crimes against humanity like spine through eyeballs of people? Did you know that classified technologies can identify the frequencies when that happens? Did you know that classified projects budget is global citizens' public money, even when they receive welfare? Race-based societies pollute the water. Who is in charge of making sure that the water in the tap is clear? One of my students had a father that worked in the water infrastructure. They began to water the gardens where children play with basically the polluted water that are coming from the bathrooms of people. While people were learning about grounding and walking barefoot on soil where something grows. Now in the city, people don't have their own yard. And then I begin to see way too many synchronicities of satanic cults. People who rape become persecuted. Why? Because they persecute the essence of the I am, the sense of self of even infants, and then they are persecuted, and then they try to mix in the identities. So this is where the theme of persecution stems from. The secrecy around the secret societies is basically to not speak up when they are raped. I had a friend that worked in academia, and she wanted to work for the security. Somebody tried to rape her in the army. She came from the family associated with the president, came from the family associated with politics, with sports union, and we were just both left-handed. So we were just sitting next to each other, and this is how people that could never have met otherwise met in university. And she told me somebody tried to rape her at the army, and all of her affiliates told her that if she wants to have a job at a security, she should not speak. None of them stood up for her, took down the entire thing. None of them were they in Epstein? I don't know. But they could not stand for my friend. When there was the Me Too, I wrote a freaking satire. Then she worked for some technology company. Was that technology company producing chips? I don't know. Was that technology company using weapon to traffic people? I don't know. Would she be able to talk about it? She wasn't able to talk about her own sexual assault in the army, mandatory army, being the most connected, old money. And let me tell you that she worked in the security, intelligence. I never consented. Now here is the difference. The difference between when I ask a certain question, like, wait a second, let me check that, because she can check that, and oh, I tend to political assassination prevention outside the cult because I never consented. I can tell you that this works in such and such way. They can't say it because they are in it. In fact, when I tried to warn, there were attempts to harm me. When I tried to prevent assassination, why? Because it's mafia, but only politician can work against his own assassination attempt. In mafia, they cannot basically prevent crime, not even against them. They say saying that intelligence is mafia. Well, if they aren't, they should stop supporting rape. And I'm being so tender with my interpretation. Aries is sovereignty o'clock. Sovereignty, sense of self, zero rape, zero slavery. Nothing that doesn't promote that can promote any sovereignty, protection of sovereignty, protection of democracy. If that's a jab, I'm sorry. I like you, but I have to say the truth. And that's the difference between paying protection and actually security and national international security. Like I said, if that's a jab. Now, in the past, people could say, well, I just live my life, I just this, I just that, if that's possible. That became impossible. Why? Because of that blending of the division that they relied on. They relied on, oh, we target these type of people, and then the people would fall into the belief that something was a private case, that something was because somebody is so and so and so. This is exactly what is basically dissolving. And it's also bubbling up to the surface. Think about Uranus at the end of Taurus, open today, relational astrology. People have, okay, we have a problem. Is that person cheating? Is that person being dissociated and somebody then uses them to try to traffic that person? Okay, we don't have a cheating problem. We have Operation Classified Projects, MK often problem. Wait a second, I do not have reach when I talk about recovery from ritual abuse because, okay, people like Annika Lucas, they don't have. And then when she finally has an interview with somebody that has over 1 million views, that person tries to forces her, coerces. They use mind control to basically say the name Rockefeller and then try to make it look like she doesn't identify who Rockefeller is. His editing team wasn't with him. Now people ain't got time for that dumbfuckery. Whatever people try to do to violate somebody else's sovereignty backfires. Saturn is ruling Pluto here. Now, Aries can be very naive, and it's just that naivete that 9/11's everything that's not naive. Somebody tries to hack into someone's nervous system and so on and so forth, and then somebody's kind of like being honest with themselves. Wait a second. There's something missing here. Okay, what is the sexuality and the way I like to orgasm? Then they run into this term called misplaced arousal. Oh, it happens in trauma bonds. This is the time where a person that was trying trauma bonds with people will try to take distance and think somebody else is going to come after them. It's kind of like, well, they don't, they don't, their behavior is not predicted. Why? Because they learn how to trauma bond people. They never learn how to relate. They never learn how to, because you can't relate consistently both in sexuality and outside of sexuality and not have everything. What happens? What is a relation that is actually sexuality is authentic? Actual relation is safe and secure attachment. It's basically raising the kundalini, raising the life energy. Okay, raising the life energy, amazing. Everything that blocks it from being begins to dissolve, begins to show up, so it dissolves. Now, when people try to do, let's say, love scams, they need to raise the kundalini of another person to the level that they're attuned. They can raise a certain thing, and then, okay, there's something. Wait a second. I feel like somebody's trying to take over, but it's not something that I want. So that's missing. Let's see what I do. What do I do want? Or somebody is trying to control me where I never asked for that and I don't like that. Now, what happens is the life energy tries to, it will not be subdued. And this is where people could get manic or could get, what is the curation for that? Zero rape, zero slavery. On all levels, astral, etheric, dream state, awakened state, everything. The problem, when that sense of self is not there, the problem still exists. When the problem still exists, it will keep trying to have a resolution, right? And then things will continuously go, they will continuously go weird until that problem is resolved and the sense of self is stable and consistent. Not according to another authority, particularly with Aries, according to one's own self. Anything that supports rape declares itself a loser to the very essence of its own soul. Anything that rapes, anything that rapes, and when I said it, I mean that which set the intent, that which tried to set the intent, that which, think about it, when Annika Lucas talked about the children being tortured, and the children had to plant urges, it's not the child that plants the urges, it's the handler of the child that mind controls the child to plant the urges. People don't get lost in that fog and confusion. What does happen, and this is every Neptune transit, it is like a wave. Think about it. Before a tsunami, the sea withdraws. But once the sea withdraws, it's a tsunami. The subjugation, the enslavement, whether rape or not, is the sea withdrawing. Sovereignty is the tsunami. Sovereignty is the tsunami on those who try to rape people and say that the raped is the loser, because in that way they mark themselves to death because they cannot win. What is a win? A win is the I am. And what they say, attachment to the I am is rapist. Rape negates the I am, so they basically create a dissonance within their sense of self and enforce that dissonance when they say that the raped one is the loser. It's that those programs, those symbols, they're done with a lot of intent to try to keep people enslaved. A free man needs not rape another. A free man needs not oppress another. Nor does a free woman. They try to create scenarios for the people that speak that will work against them. But what does that do? If in the Me Too it's like, well, there's some sort of trauma, and to some sort of trauma, they were violating my sovereignty, trying to create a rapport and basically corrupt the energy of you, or take the energy where it's not my authentic self. And so I don't blame and I don't judge. It seems to be a trauma response, but that seems to be in the training of the intelligence. So we need to talk about the training of and the structures that train our so-called democratic regime, because people don't practice democracy in politics and governance departments. The structure of academia is not democratic. So where do people practice democracy? How are they going to be trained to represent and basically have representation that doesn't violate senses of self? A zero rape, zero slavery regime. The funding for the academia, and so on and so forth. The red in the labor, but the blue was with Epstein too. Both Saturn and Neptune and Chiron address things from the root cause, even when that root cause is mysterious. Neptune. By the way, Sun ingress to Pisces today. Why did the Me Too happen? Everybody knows the straw that broke the camel's back. People were like, wait a second, what is this thing everywhere? And then it was like a volcanic eruption. It's the threshold, because power has crossed the threshold where it is abusive, so much so that it actually has put people in the position to challenge power. Because in the past you could say, okay, just live your life. Amazing. Person would just live their life. But the whole notion of power was not to let people live their life. Aries is the live and let live. When that becomes gaslighting, then Aries says, okay, enough with that. And that uncovers every secret hidden thing. Just because of the naivety of Aries. Because in Aries, people do ask questions. People do care to know the truth. And also, people do care, because they care for their sense of self. They do understand that my I am, or my boundaries, my sense of self is mine. Other people have their sense of self, and we need to respect one another's sense of self. This is why Ares killed the rapists, because they didn't respect the sense of self. Aries also addresses things heads on.